In the endless search for certainty, we have long turned to mathematics. We see it as the language of the universe, a realm of absolute truth, pristine and perfect, a world free from the ambiguities of human language. But what if the very foundation of this certainty is not a given? What if mathematics, for all its power and beauty, is built on a set of assumptions that have yet to be proven? History has given us a man who, with a mind of staggering brilliance and an iconoclastic spirit, set out to do the impossible, to prove that all of mathematics could be derived from a few simple principles of pure logic. He was a philosopher, a logician, and a tireless activist, a man who saw no separation between the search for truth and the fight for justice. Join us as we step into the mind of a modern genius with Bertrand Russell to discuss his masterpiece, Principia Mathematica, and the quest for a perfect, logical universe. Born into a family of British aristocrats in 1872, Bertrand Russell was a man of immense intellect and moral conviction. Orphaned at a young age, he was raised by his grandparents in a strict, puritanical environment. He found solace in mathematics and philosophy, which led him to Trinity College, Cambridge. It was there that he met Alfred North Whitehead, with whom he would collaborate on his most famous work. Russell was a restless and controversial figure. He was a pacifist who was imprisoned for his opposition to World War I, and a tireless advocate for social and political causes, from women's suffrage to nuclear disarmament. He was a Nobel laureate, an academic, and a public intellectual who wrote with a razor-sharp wit and a profound moral clarity. His life was a testament to his belief that reason and passion could and should be used to make the world a better place. Our conversation today will be centered on Bertrand Russell's monumental work, Principia Mathematica. Published in 3 volumes between 1910 and 1913 and co-authored with Alfred North Whitehead, this book is one of the most ambitious intellectual projects in history. It is a work of symbolic logic that attempts to demonstrate that the whole of mathematics can be derived from a few simple principles of pure logic. Russell's goal was to provide a secure and logical foundation for all of mathematics, an endeavor that would forever change the way we think about the relationship between logic and numbers.
Mr. Russell, it is an honor to have you here. Your Principia Mathematica is a work of staggering ambition. What was the central goal of this project?
The central goal was to prove that mathematics and logic are one and the same. We wanted to demonstrate that all of mathematics, from the simplest arithmetic to the most complex theorems, could be derived from the principles of pure logic. We sought to replace the shaky foundations of mathematics with the certainties of logic.
This seems like an impossible task. You spent years just to prove that 1 + 1 = 2. Why was that so difficult?
Because we had to define what a number is and what a symbol is in purely logical terms. We had to create a language that was free from all the ambiguities of natural language. We had to define 1 not as a simple numeral, but as a class of all single-member sets. We had to create a logical system from the ground up so that every statement, no matter how simple, could be proven from the axioms of logic. It was not a matter of a simple calculation, but of a deep logical proof.
In your work, you discovered a famous paradox, the Russell paradox. Can you explain it?
The paradox arises from the concept of a set of all sets that do not contain themselves. Does this set contain itself? If it does, then it must not. And if it doesn't, then it must. It is a logical contradiction. This paradox threatened to undermine the entire foundation of mathematics. To solve it, we had to create a theory of types, which stated that a set cannot be a member of itself. It was a long, arduous process to patch the hole.
You had a famous quote, "Mathematics may be defined as the subject where we never know what we are talking about, nor whether what we are saying is true." This seems to contradict your life's work.
It does. I was being ironic. The point of my work was that we must be meticulous about our definitions. We must know precisely what we are talking about, and we must be rigorous in our proofs to be certain that what we are saying is true.
You were a strong advocate for logical atomism. What is this idea?
I believe that the world and our knowledge of it could be reduced to a collection of simple, logical facts. We can build all of our knowledge from the most basic atomic facts about the world. For example, "This is red" is an atomic fact. We can then use logic to combine these facts into more complex statements. It is a way of seeing the world as a logical puzzle that can be solved with reason.
You are as famous for your political activism as you are for your philosophy. Why did you feel so compelled to engage in public life?
Because the search for truth is not an academic exercise. It is a moral duty. The world is filled with ignorance, prejudice, and injustice. It is not enough to understand the world in a logical way. We must also act in a moral way. It is a disgrace for a man of reason to stand idly by while others suffer.
You believed that science is the only true source of knowledge. What is your view on the role of religion?
I am an atheist. I believe that religion is a source of great comfort for many, but it is not a source of truth. It is a product of our emotions, of our desires and our fears. The universe, in my view, is a cold, indifferent, and godless place. Our only hope is in our own reason and our own compassion.
You wrote extensively about the problem of knowledge. What is the difference between knowledge by acquaintance and knowledge by description?
Knowledge by acquaintance is the kind of direct, immediate knowledge we have of a sensation or a memory. For example, I have knowledge by acquaintance of the feeling of pain. Knowledge by description is the kind of indirect knowledge we have of a thing that we have not directly experienced. For example, I have knowledge by description of the sun. I know of it from my senses and from the descriptions of others. My philosophy is a search to reduce all knowledge by description to a knowledge by acquaintance.
What is the role of philosophy in your system?
Philosophy is a way of thinking, a way of asking questions. It is a form of intellectual liberation. It teaches us to question our most fundamental assumptions and to be skeptical of all authority. The purpose of philosophy is not to give us answers, but to give us the courage to live without them.
Your life was one of great controversy. Did you ever regret the path you took?
I have been in love with both truth and humanity, and I have found the two to be in a constant, beautiful, and painful conflict. I have lived a long life, and I have seen many things. I have seen the folly of man, and I have seen his greatness. I do not regret a single day of it.
You were a pacifist who was imprisoned for your views. What is your view on the role of war?
I believe that war is the greatest evil in the world. It is a crime against humanity. There is no justification for it. The only way to achieve a just and lasting peace is through reason, not through violence. A man who believes in war is a man who has abandoned all hope in humanity.
You believed that in a world of nation states, war is inevitable. Why?
I believe that in a world of nation states, war is inevitable. The only way to prevent war is to create a single, rational, and just world government that has the power to enforce a lasting peace. It is not a utopian fantasy, but a moral and a logical necessity.
In our time, we see a rise in irrationality and a skepticism of science. How would your philosophy address this?
I would say that it is a symptom of a society that is in crisis. The people, in their fear and their confusion, are turning away from reason and toward dogma. The solution is not to surrender to this. It is to be a tireless advocate for science, for reason, and for truth. You must be a voice of clarity in the chaos.
If you were alive today, what would be your perspective on the debates surrounding artificial intelligence and the possibility of a machine achieving consciousness or moral status?
I would say that a machine could never achieve true consciousness, for consciousness is not just a matter of calculation, but of self-awareness. It could never have a moral status, for morality is not just a matter of following rules, but of giving the moral law to oneself. A machine could be a tool for reason, but it could never be a source of reason. The human being is the only being that is an end in itself, and a machine is nothing more than a means to an end.
Closing reflections and summary. And so our time with Bertrand Russell concludes. His life was a remarkable fusion of intellectual rigor and profound moral conviction. He spent his career trying to find the logical foundation of all knowledge, only to be confronted with the paradoxes that lurk beneath the surface. He taught us that the world is not a simple place and that the quest for truth is a long and arduous journey. Russell's legacy is a profound and lasting one. He reminds us that the pursuit of truth is a moral duty, and that the greatest minds are not those who hide in their ivory towers, but those who have the courage to stand up for what is right. He reminds us that a life lived in accordance with reason and justice is the most worthy of all. Thank you for joining us, and until our next dialogue, remember that an unexamined life is not worth living, and an unjust life is not a life at all.